On?
Yeah. Oh, what's going on?
Good one, Jeff? First time it's been cold all year.
I know, right?
Oh, cool. Oh yeah, nice one. No,
Nice one,
not
Jared.
huge, but decent. Oh, it had its mouth open. I thought it was a really nice one, but it's a decent fish. It's just amazing how many fish can be loaded in these spots. It's crazy. He ate it. Hey, buddy. Kind of interesting how many misses we've had.
Yeah.
You know, not bad.
Oh, little jack to get bigger than that, but that's a
Beautiful pike up here in northern Manitoba. Awesome. Doubles. That's what you like about pike fishing up here. It's action. And they can get pretty darn big. Oh.
bastard.
They're loaded out there.
There. Nice yourself
That's
out.
decent. Yeah, right. Cool. Well, Jeff, this is a good time. We wanted to catch lake trout, but we ran into a little bit of wind. And so we decided, hey, let's go cast for jacks for a little bit. And it has been nonstop action. We're on Lake Athapapuskow at Baker's Narrows Lodge in the middle of September. So we're gonna be catching some big jacks, hopefully some lake trout, and with any luck, some walleyes. I'm really digging the pike fishing right now. It's great conditions for doing this. So get this one back and hopefully get another. Yeah, that's a sweet fish. Cool. Catching them on bait casting equipment, like bass fishing gear. Super fun. The great thing about pike fishing is that you can catch them on just about anything you want. Of course, there's the classics, for Canadian trips, like the spoon, hard to beat, and a number of other baits, but probably my all-time favorite, if I had to just pick one bait to go pike fishing with, it would just be this. It's just a jig, and this is a big bite, 6-inch tube. And what I love about this, it kind of seems to mix that jig with the jerk bait. It's got a lot of hang time, so this is a 1/2-ounce flat shed head, and you can kind of pop it, and it's got that slow glide and fall, so you're getting that side-to-side action, plus you can control the depth of it, so it's a really versatile bait. And if it gets in front of pike, they just seem to love it. So for me, late summer into fall, this is my favorite. And then of course an X-Rap's another great one, but you know what, the thing with the pike up here, if you have confidence in it, that is what you should be throwing, because it's really not so much about the lure, it's being at the right place at the right time. Right?
That's all it takes is a little complaining.
All it takes.
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
Did you see it? I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's a really
yeah,
nice
that's a
fish.
good one, huh?
Woo. Nice. Whoa. Look at that thing. Oh, give me a handful on a flipping stick, huh?
I'd say it. That puts the fun right in the game.
Woo! Awesome, awesome, awesome.
I showed you earlier, that the old spoon, that's a classic known bait to catch pike on. And what I've always done is put a Siwash on here. It's barbless, so these come out of these fish, they never get hurt. But what's amazing is we're fishing this giant weed flat, and this thing fishes through there like a weedless frog. It's an unbelievably weedless bait, and obviously produces some big pike. Hefty green. Look at how pretty those things are. This time of year, we're up here in the fall, and those things are beautifully marked. In my opinion, that a northern pike is one of the prettiest fish around, and super fun to catch.
They are gorgeous.
Woo!
Little beauty, little fat football.
Wow! Holy smokes!
Woo! Never let me down when I need a monster.
That thing is so fat.
I think I'm gonna need a still shot for social media with that. Give me a still shot.
Ooh, we grabbed it that time. On. I don't think it's huge, but it might be decent. Oh yeah, it's a really nice walleye. Sweet, that's a good fish. Look at that.
Net it.
Look at that. Nice, Walter.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Cool, sweet fish. Sweet, sweet. man, this time of transition, you know, these fish can be just about anywhere. We did a little jigging wrapping out on the humps, and now we're in this kind of little neck down going into a, you know, a shallower area. And September is really that month of transition for all different types of critters. No doubt about that. And so a lot of these areas where you have the big shallow flats kind of leading into the main lake can be a great place to bring in bait fish from the deep, and the stuff that's shallow is making its way out, it seems, as well too. And a nice walleye said hello. Cool. That's great. All right. Pike, trout, walleye. Life is good. See, dude. 2D's like, whoa. That's another just decent. Well, it's getting better. Well, it might be a decent fish. All right. Staying down. What do we got here? Mr. Walleye, after dinner walleye. We have every rod that you can think of piled up here. Oh yeah, really nice walleye. I'll bring him right over here and grab him.
Put the hurt on him, Jer. Ooh, there's
Hello, Mr. Walleye.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad to see you. It's amazing, no matter, you know, oh, hey. No matter where you go, there is something magical about that, you know, twilight time frame for catching walleyes. We just got done having a nice dinner at the lodge. We came out just a short trip away, and we're on to some nice walleyes. That's pretty cool. Look at this, you know, I've got the side imaging pulled up here right now just because we're sitting still, and it's fun to see what's moving around. And like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 walleyes coming through. Really neat. Side imaging can be a pretty amazing technology. Trolling is no doubt one of the best ways to catch lake trout in these big Canadian fisheries. It's also a great way to learn water. When we approach this trolling situation, we have snap weights and boards are our two options. Now, if it was just two of us, we wouldn't incorporate a board, but we've got Mike behind the camera right now, also in the boat, a licensed angler, so we're putting out an additional line. So a board is a great way to spread things out. If you had 3 anglers in the boat, all fishing lead weights, if you're trying to contour troll, you are going to end up running over, the lines are going to get crossed, and it ends up being a mess. So getting that spread also covers more water, but it prevents tangles. So what we've got is these snap weights that we're running anywhere, depending on depth right now, it's we're running basically 12 ounces to a pound. We're seeing a lot of fish really deep, and we're running the snap weights in this situation on the 2 flat lines. On the board right now, we're just running a deep diving crankbait that's getting down about 30 feet, but at the same time, you can run lead on your boards as well. So a snap weight to a spoon on a board works really well. You just kind of have to have a sense of knowing how deep that's actually going to be going. So having a board in combination with snap weights of different weights is a really dynamite way to cover water, mark your spots, figure out how structures are laid out, and hopefully run into some really nice lake trout. When you're doing this, just a loose drag, and the rod can handle a lot of stuff, so it's not necessarily pumping, it's more so just reeling, nice and slow and steady. Coming pretty quick, 35. Water's so clear, we're gonna see here pretty soon. 30. There she is.
Fighting this fish like a surgeon, Jer.
Nice trout, beautiful trout. Whoa, good job, rod tips are in the net.
Yeah, I see it.
There we go. Look at that. Gorgeous trout. This mid-September time is typically when they'd be starting to spawn. It's been a warm year, but you can start to see the fins getting a little color on them, those white margins and those orange fins. Beautiful. Cool. When they're spread out like this though, you know, kind of that pre-spawn, water in the low 60s, it can be difficult to find them, so trolling is certainly a great way to do that. Let's get this one back and maybe get another. Covering water, the electronics screen setup that I've got for this is pretty basic, and I'm guessing most people have the technology. It's map and 2D sonar. For deep water, 2D is just a great way to see what's below you. Your cone is so big, so you've got a lot of visibility. And then with the map, we're using AutoChart Live, so I have that Zero Lines SD card in here, and we're recording everywhere we go. So each trolling pass, we're getting a better picture of what's happening below us, and at the end of a trip, you end up getting a really, really good map. So having that Zero Lines card to me is a really big tool for this Canadian fishing. But you know, just all you really need is that 2D sonar. You get a great picture of what's down there, and you make a map along the way. So in terms of the gear that you want to have, or I should say really need to have to do this trolling deal up in Canada is, first of all, snap weights. Offshore sells the snap weight kits, but you do need to have some heavier lead, especially when you're going to be flirting with that really deep water, 60 to 100 plus feet. So we carry weights on the boat anywhere from really 4 ounces on the light side up to a pound. And you'll notice we just snap these babies on there, and this weight has a little pin in it, so you don't have to worry about the weight coming off. And I can just give you an example here of how we would do this, just using the line that's here. So now what I like to do with these is I'm going to open this up, make sure you get all the way to the back, past that pin, and then go ahead and wrap it around and get basically double it back through. So now we've got it doubled over, and we're not going to end up losing.
Baker's Narrow Lodge in Manitoba is a true trophy destination for a variety of fish species. Take a look at some of these walleyes. This is world class, and the pike are also big and abundant. Jeremy and I are always excited to target lake trout, and if you time it right, lakers move shallow to spawn in the fall, and it can be some of the best lake trout action of the year. However, if you plan a trip in the fall, some areas and lakes are closed to fishing in order to protect the fall spawning fish like lake trout, which happens to be the case here. And although we didn't catch any big lake trout, Baker's Narrows is indeed a first-class destination for lake trout for much of the season. Hey, the nice thing about Baker's Narrows Lodge is that there's always something big to chase, depending on the weather or the time of year. It's a notorious destination for huge walleyes, and big pike are caught all season long. And when it comes to lake trout, you really need some specialized gear.
Now, in terms of boards, I bring both sets of boards. If we were just fishing for lake trout that might be 10, 12 pounds on the top end, and we're never going to be fishing with big baits, you wouldn't need anything other than your standard walleye boards. This is, really all you need. But I do a couple things to these because the trout can pull the boards down, and if you are fishing heavier stuff, I like the upgrade. So I'm putting the clamp style on here, so you'll notice there's a pin on this one. When I run the line through, I double it up, clamp it down, and then the back of the board also, just like that snap weight, has the pin in it, so I'm not going to end up busting the board off, and especially if you're in windy, rocky stuff, not have to chase a board back out into on top of a shallow rocky reef or something like that if it comes loose. So I like having that. And then if we were going to be fishing like T60s or some really big, almost musky sized baits on a board with really heavy lead, I would definitely make sure to bring the super mag planers here, because you need that bigger board to be able to pull the bait away from the boat and not get bogged down. If you're trying to fish too big of baits with too much lead on a smaller board, you're just not getting that coverage that you really want. So having both sizes, to me, makes a big difference, and I always make sure that I pack them. So a couple boards, a little bit of lead, and you're in business. So this is specialized gear for trolling lake trout, and we've got the St. Croix Encores as our primary setup for doing this. These are great rods that can handle a really heavy load in terms of lead, and if you're pulling big baits like flatfish or quickfish. So this is the 9.5 foot extra heavy moderate, really awesome rod. It can get the the baits out away from the boat. And then we also have line counter reels, and the rod isn't that heavy, so it's really a nice setup for holding in your hand. And when you're holding the rod, I love the low profile of the Daiwa Alexa line counter, the 300 size. It just fits in your hand really nice. So it's, of course, a lot of fun to feel a trout smash it when you're trolling and holding onto the rod. So If we were, you know, just strictly trolling, putting rods in rod holders, definitely you might want to look at doing something like the Sea Lines or the Pro Rex. But if you're holding the rod in your hand, I think the low profile Lexa line counters are the best option. And now we're spooling these up primarily with 50-pound Suffix 832. And this is that kind of that aqua camo, that blue color here, and whatever, it's just kind of a lake trout line. That's the color that I like to run on here, but 50 seems like it's pretty good. You could get away with 40, but you know, doing these clips and sometimes banging into rocks, the 50 seems to be a really nice spot where it's not too big a diameter line where you're affecting the dive curve of some of the baits, and it's still strong enough that you're not going to break off on even a really big fish.
Trout are scattered about. I'm going to get
scattered about trout. Trout that are scattered about. Beauty little laker. Huh? Ha! He wants to go bye-bye. All right, whoa! And off he goes. A classic trout release. Woohoo! Cool, man, that was great. This trip into Manitoba at Baker's Narrows Lodge was a total blast. The accommodations were outstanding, the food was great, the pike fishing was nonstop action, and we absolutely pounded on a bunch of walleyes. That's a pretty fish.
Yeah, very cool.
And we even scraped together some lake trout considering we couldn't access the big fish water. As a matter of fact, Jeff and I are planning on returning for these mammoth lake trout through the ice. This is going to be another fun adventure.
Hey, I got a question for you. Do you believe in miracles? I got a longtime friend of mine, Tom Longenecker. I know he believes in miracles, and I asked him to share with you and I why. Go for it, brother.
All right, thanks. In November 2021, I was down in Texas hog hunting, and I noticed I was running out of oxygen. I'd have to stop and rest, and it just wasn't, I didn't have any chest pains, it was just nuisance. So I get home, and after a great hunt, and then Christmas night, I was really having difficulty breathing, and I ended up in the local ER. They diagnosed me with pneumonia and hospitalized me. Next morning, doc comes up, the ER doc, and he says, your lungs look like crap. There's no other way to say it. He said, you got a serious problem, you need to get with your physician. So I did that. Many tests, short version. April, I end up with a referral to Mayo Clinic. Again, the blood test. I thought my low blood light was going to come on the dash. It was just amazing. And at the end of the day, I met with my pulmonary doctor. He gave me the diagnosis of interstitial lung disease. It's not a good diagnosis to have.
Don't sound good.
He said he'd follow up with me the following week, and which he did. And on April 25th, I got the call to confirm the diagnosis. Back in June, more tests. Back in July, more tests. September, I'm sitting in church, and I was there prior to the service, and I heard these simple words, I got this. And I looked around, and nobody was around me. I was confused, but carried on. October 2022, back down to Mayo. Following more tests, I met with my assigned pulmonary doctor. And he said, quote, the diagnosis is identified. And I've got notes here because I want to make sure and tell you exactly what it said. The diagnosis is identified but stable, remarkably stable. He looked at the computer and he looked at me and he looked at the computer again. He says, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've only seen a few of these. I said, what are you talking about? And the doctor said, your disease, it has stopped progressing. I asked, is this a God thing? And he kind of leaned back and he went, it sure as heck ain't me. He said, I haven't done anything. So I sit here today with still have minimal symptoms, not taking any meds. And some areas of my pulmonary have improved over the last 4 months, just minusculely. but it's improved. So, does Jesus heal today? I certainly believe our God still heals. He's not limited by time frame. I haven't seen anywhere in the scriptures that God doesn't heal any longer. In Matthew alone, Jesus healed 23 people. So that's my story. With that, I've been asked to participate in an international clinical trial. And so that's brand new, just getting started on it, and I'm looking forward to a long, long time.
I'm looking forward to some overdue boat time with you and I. We haven't fished all summer long.
All summer.
And that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so I want to thank Tom for taking the time to share his heart. Question for you, the first question I asked you. Is he a walking miracle, or is that just a coincidence? Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, have a great fishing season. We'll see you on the water.
Closed captioning is provided by Smooth Moves, adjustable boat seat suspensions for a smoother ride. This segment is brought to you by Wavy Label Eyewear. Backed by a lifetime warranty, we see what others don't.
So that was on a number 8 Shad Rap.
Your style of boat control is really key.
One that was there from the very beginning.
You want to be able to see in the water. The adventure begins.
We are loaded for bear. We got
You know,
pikes.
there's so many different ways to fish for walleye. Dependability and efficiency.
Simple, fast, and easy.
The best rods on the planet. They like to eat when you're throwing the right thing.
You don't have all bluebird flat calm days.
Just a perfect eating size fish. See, that's what I'm talking about, these Daiwa drag.
We got walleye stuff, we got crappie stuff, we got pike stuff.
This boat is rigged up about as nice.
Easy to use, and it flat out works.
It's a must-have when you're talking about big waves. Well, these trout are so darn tough.
Incredible 11-year warranty.